this meeting. We are recording now. Let me share the screen. Sorry. So do you see lecture 3 at your end?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead. Yeah. So I thought the model that we used last time was okay. You may all unmute yourself as and when needed, and let's keep it that way. If there's a quick question, I will answer. If it is a long answer, then I would apologize and maybe take it towards the end. Yeah. All right. Does that seem okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Yes, ma'am. All right. Okay. So last time we ended our time by a small discussion on exact and closed differential forms, correct? And what did we know? We noticed that every exact differential form is closed, but the converse is not true in general. Yeah, every closed differential form need not be exact, correct? Hope you all remember this. But if we throw in this assumption that D is simply connected or D is compact, D is convex, then it so turns out that every closed form is exact, right? Remember what was D? D was the domain of definition of M and N, where what are M and N? M dx plus N dy is the differential form under consideration. Okay, all right. So let's apply this knowledge to solve the following ordinary differential equation. Yeah. So what do we have? Y cosine x plus 2x e to power y plus sine x x square e to power y minus 1 dy by dx equals 0, right? So the goal is to solve this differential equation. Yeah. So going by our notation, m here is y cosine x plus 2x exponential y, and n is sine x plus x square exponential y minus 1, correct? So let's check. Let's check if this differential form is closed, right? So that means that we will compute the derivative of m with respect to y, the partial of m with respect to y, and the partial of n with respect to x. It turns out that the two are same. So this differential form m dx plus n dy is closed. Now I claim that this implies that this differential form is exact. Why is that the case?
Because we can consider D to be R square.
Yes, because D is R square in this particular example, which is convex. Excellent. All right. Okay. All right. So what do we have? We have an exact ordinary differential equation, right? So how do we go about finding it? Saying that this is exact means there is a function u of two variables x and y such that the partial of u with respect to x is the given function m, and the partial of u with respect to y is the given function n. Now, why do we care about such a function? Because we did some analysis last time which showed that if there is a function u as here, then u setting u equals to constant, that gives us an implicit solution to this exact equation, correct? So what is the goal? The goal is to find a function u such that the partial of u with respect to x is m and the partial of u with respect to y is n. Now, how do we do this? As recall, the step one is that you start with m and integrate with respect to the x variable, right? So what do? You pick up a function k. This is a function of y alone. Yeah. So k is the constant of integration because the variable of integration is with respect to the variable x, right? And set it equal to, what do I set it equal to? Yeah. So this turns out to be, I'm just integrating it. This is y sine x plus x square e to power y plus ky, right? Now this is step one. Yeah. Step two, what do? You differentiate whatever you get in step one with respect to the y variable now, right? So which means that the partial of u with respect to the y variable is sine x plus x square e to power y plus the derivative of k with respect to the y variable, right? Now this must be equal to n, yeah, the function n, all right, which in this example is sine of x plus x square exponential y minus 1, all right. So what do you do next? Now comparing the left hand side and the right hand side gives you that the derivative of k is minus 1, right? So what do? You choose k to be minus of y, so that by step 1 u is sine of x plus x square e to power y minus y, and setting that equal to constant gives you an implicit solution to the given differential equation, right? So why do we choose k as minus of y? See, we are looking for just one solution of this differential equation, right? So you choose k such that k satisfies this condition that the derivative of k is minus of 1, and we are done. Is that okay? Is everybody with me up till this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Okay. All right. So this was an example of exact differential equation. Let's see. Suppose that we are in a situation where this first order ordinary differential equation m plus n dy by dx is not exact. Now, so I am working under the assumption that, m and n are sufficiently nice. What does it mean? That m and n are such that the first order partial derivatives of both m and n with respect to both the variables exist and are continuous wherever they are defined, right? So exact implies closed, right? So if something is not exact, then does that always imply that that cannot be closed?
No, ma'am.
No.
No.
So why do I say that? Why can I say that the derivative of m with respect to y is not equal to the derivative of n with respect to x?
If you are taking our, I mean, domain to be a convex domain, then only we can say this, right?
Then only we can say this, yeah. So I am we are working under the assumption that D is nice, let's say both whole of R2, right? Maybe I'll add a clarification here, yeah. That would be nice. Is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. Okay. So sometimes what happens is one is able to find a function mu of both the variables x and y such that the equation 1 may not be exact, but if I multiply equation 1 by this function mu, then this new equation, ordinary differential equation, what I get labeled as 2 here, that turns out to be exact. Yes. Now, right? In particular, so we are working under the assumption that the domain of definition of m and n is very nice, so that we can sort of go back and forth between exact and closed forms. So that would imply that saying that this is exact means this is closed will imply that the partial of mu m with respect to y is same as the partial of mu n with respect to the x variable, right? So this exactly means the following, that the partial of mu with respect to y times m plus mu times the partial of m with respect to y is same as the right hand side, right? So as and when there is a function mu as stated above, we say that mu is an integrating factor of the given differential equation. Now 2 is exact, so we know how to sort of solve 2, right? We know how to get an implicit solution to 2, right? So it would be nice if we could say that 1 and 2 have the same solutions, correct? Yeah, but unfortunately this is not so, yeah. So it may happen that a solution y equal to y of x of 2 is such that so let me sort of write that down. Maybe I'll just write that down. So you remember, right? So what is 1? The equation 1 is m plus n dy by dx equal to 0, right? This was labeled as 1. and mu is an integrating factor, right? So I'm also looking at another equation. This is also a mu, right? Now this is labeled as 2. Yeah. So what I said is that we know how to solve 2 because mu is an integrating factor and 2 is an exact ordinary differential equation, right? What is that we would like? We would like 1 and 2 to have the same solutions, but this may not be the case always. Yeah. So sort of I'll just sort of try to highlight what may go wrong. Yeah, it may happen that a solution y of equation 2 be such that this integrating factor might become 0, right? On some interval on right, that's a possibility, right? And hence in this scenario, this y equal to yx may not be a solution of 1, correct?
Ma'am,
Yes.
I'm sorry to disturb. Can you please go again from the example point? Things became a little unclear.
Yeah, let me just finish this. Yeah, y equal to y of x could fail to be a solution of 1. All I'm trying to say is, we know, see, the whole purpose of the integrating factor is that you get a equation 2, solve equation 2 and assert that any solution of 2 is a solution of 1, right? I am trying to say that may not be always the case. It may happen that a solution of 2 be such that the integrating factor itself becomes 0 on some interval, right? In that case, this solution of equation 2 can possibly fail to be a solution of equation 1. Yes, so I'll give you an example, right? Rather than sort of talking like this. Yeah, so I'll give you a concrete example. Let's consider the following differential equation. Yeah, so y plus 2x plus 1 by y dy by dx equal to 0, right? Okay. Then I claim that so this is something to be checked, that if you consider mu as the function phi, yeah, let's consider y, then this is, and so let me call it 1. Yeah. This is an integrating factor of this equation where, yeah, that is very, very important, on any open rectangle that does not intersect the x-axis. Is that okay? Does everybody see this? Yeah, so what is that I want to say? That is, this is exactly saying that if you look at y square plus 2x y plus 1 dy by dx equal to 0, this equation, so which I'm going to label as 2, this is exact on any such rectangle. As described above. So let me sort of scroll down. Is this okay with everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I had one doubt.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
the solution which we obtained for the equation 2,
Yes.
we cannot say, like, even in this case, we need to divide it by the integrating factor. Only then it will become a solution for 1, right?
So let's see. Yeah. So all I'm trying to say is just, bear with me. Yeah. I'll sort of come back to you. Just bear with me. What is the point that I want to emphasize here? One can verify, why identically 0 is a solution of 2, but not of 1. So y identically 0 is a solution of 2, but not of 1. Correct? Everybody agrees with me on this point?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. However, what can be checked is the following, and I'll leave this for you to check. So this is first thing. And the second thing is that if you, sort of do the calculation, which I'll skip for now, then so y xy plus 1 equal to constant. This is an implicit solution to 2. Of 2 and so this is something to be checked. That's point number 2. And the third point is that every differentiable function y equal to y of x other than y identically 0 that satisfies y xy plus 1 equal to constant is indeed a solution of 1 as well. So coming back to this concept of integrating factors, one has to be careful here. And what is the thing that we can say? One can say this, that if mu xy is defined and non-zero for all xy, then 1 and 2 are equivalent. That is, 1 and 2 have the same solutions. Yeah, I'll just write that down. Yeah, so this is something to be noted. If the integrating factor mu xy is defined and non-zero for all xy, then 1 and 2 have the same solutions.
Ma'am, I have a small doubt.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Ma'am, in the above, you described the rectangle to be a region which does not intersect the x-axis.
Correct, correct.
So, how come y equal to 0 is a solution for equation number 2?
No, I'm just saying mu is an integrating factor here, but y equal to 0 is a solution of 2 is something that you can see, by inspection. The other one, y xy equal to 1 equal to c, this you obtain by using the exactness of equation 2. Is that okay? You just plug in y identically 0 and you say that that satisfies 2. Correct?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, yes. The other solution, y, this y xy plus 1 equal to c, this solution you get this solution by solving this exact ODE. Is that okay?
All right, ma'am. Just one thing.
Tell me.
That the line that you have written about the open rectangle doesn't intersect the x-axis, so it is basically for mu.
It is for mu.
Achha, okay, ठीक है, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah. See, the whole point of this example was that you cannot blindly say that, I have, multiplied this by integrating factor. I have found an exact equation. Any solution of 2 is a solution of 1. No. See, there are two things to be checked here. Anytime you find an integrating factor, you write down the equation 2. Please check that it is exact. And the second point is check that the solutions of 2 are indeed solutions of 1. Is that okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's just go back to slides. Let's see some examples. Maybe you will feel sort of little more comfortable with this concept. Where was it? We were here, right? We were at this slide. So is this okay with everybody present here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So let's go ahead. Okay. So in practice, this is mu here, as we have written on the slide, is function of both x and y. In practice, it simplifies the things a lot more if we look for an integrating factor, which depends only on one of the variables x or y, right? So suppose it so turns out that the integrating factor is a function of the variable x alone, right? So then what happens? The exactness of, so let's just go back. Saying that equation 2 is exact says some condition, it imposes a condition on the derivatives of mu, m and n, correct? Which is the last equation on this slide, right? So if we are under the assumption that mu is a function of the variable x alone, then this equation simplifies, and what we have is the following. Yeah, so the partial of mu with respect to the y variable disappears. So what we have is the following, which I can rewrite in the following manner. Correct? Is that okay? So I have another ODE. D mu by dx is equals my minus nx upstairs, and in the denominator I have n times mu. Now, furthermore, if it so happens then that this coefficient of mu is a function of the variable x alone, then what happens? Then this differential equation that I have written here, d mu by dx equals to something or the other, this is a separable ordinary differential equation, and we know how to solve it. Correct? Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So once we know that this is a separable differential equation, we can solve for mu. Yeah, all of this is trying to get hold of mu, the integrating factor mu, right? Okay. Now, so this, if you sort of integrate, then the integrating factor, it turns out to be exponential of something or the other, right? And what is this integrand here? The integrand here is exactly the coefficient of, this the term which appears here, my minus nx by n, right? Remember, mu here is an exponential function, defined everywhere and non-zero everywhere. So anytime you choose an exponential function, an integrating factor like this, then, the equation 2 that you get here, that means that the equation you obtain by multiplying by the integrating factor will have the same solution as the equation 1. Is that okay? Is everybody with me? We started out by looking at solutions for equation 1. We don't know how to get them. Suppose that there is an integrating factor mu, which is a function of the variable x alone. Suppose further that my minus nx by n is a function of x alone, then the expression that I have written in the box here gives you an integrating factor of the equation 1. More importantly, we also note that this expression is well defined everywhere and non-zero. So the equations 2 and 1 will in this case have the same solutions. Is this okay with everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Okay. Likewise, one can assume that what happens if mu is a function of the variable y alone, then you get an analogous equation, this time ODE in terms of mu and y variable. Furthermore, if you assume that nx minus my by m is a function of y variable alone, then this is a separable ODE. One can separate the variables, integrate and solve, and you get this expression as the integrating factor, right? Again, this is an exponential function, nice, well-defined everywhere, non-zero everywhere, yeah? Okay, so with this sort of background, let's try to solve this.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am, here the nx minus my by m, we don't need to assume that it is a function of y alone. It will be a function of y alone by considering this equality, right?
Why will it be a function of y alone?
Because mu is a function of y alone, so d mu by dy will also be a function of y alone. And on the right hand side, mu is a function of y alone, so this should also be a function of y.
No, I don't think, not necessarily, right? Because you're taking out partial derivatives, it can have an x term in it, just that it won't get integrated with
Correct.
dy. When you integrate it, the x won't matter, but it won't be a function of y alone.
Sure.
No,
That's
I'm saying that we are getting this analogous equation, right? So if we find out this nx minus my by m from this equation, that will be a function of y alone.
No, I think it will not be a function of y alone. It will have x, but I think what you mean to say is when you integrate it with y, the x will act as a constant. So that won't matter. You can always integrate it.
It will come out to be 1 by mu d mu by dy, right?
Exactly. So your point is correct. You take dy over there, you integrate. That works because the x present, let's say nx has an x term, that will act as a constant while you are integrating with y. Because you're integrating with respect to y. So it can have an x term.
I think what he's trying to say is mu
Actually,
and d mu by dy are both terms of y alone.
Exactly.
actually,
So
if we just consider d mu by dy and upon mu, if we take mu to the left hand side, we'll see that varying x on the left hand side changes nothing.
Exactly.
So varying x on the right hand side should also change nothing.
Nothing.
Yes.
So then it should be constant with respect to changes in x.
X, yes, exactly what I was trying to say.
Which
So
means
x
it shouldn't be a function of x.
Right.
So let's see. I think your question will be answered when we see this example. So let's see. What do we know? Okay, so we have actually other mechanisms to solve this ODE, but let's apply the knowledge of integrating factors. So what is m here and what is n here? In the notation, convention that we have been using, m is 8xy minus 9y square and n is 2x square minus 6xy. All right, so let's compute the partials of m with respect to y and partial of n with respect to x. M and n here are polynomials, defined everywhere. So, closed and exact are all equivalent in this example. Okay, so as it turns out, this ODE is not closed and therefore not exact. So we try to find an integrating factor depending only on one variable. Okay. So let's see, let's look at the following scenario. Let's look at the difference my minus nx by n, right? So if you do the little calculation, this turns out to be 2 by x, yeah, very lucky, a function of just one variable. So what we do is we look at the integrating factor like this, yeah, d mu by dx is 2 by x mu, right? Okay, so what we get is mu is given as x square, right? So this can be chosen as an integrating factor for the given ordinary differential equation. Is this okay?
Yes.
Yes. So at this stage, I would recommend everybody please check that when you multiply by x square, the given differential equation, what you get is indeed an exact ordinary differential equation. Okay, all right. Let's see what we do have. So let's multiply by mu x equal to x square. What you get is the following. 8x cube y minus 9x square y square plus 2x to power 4 minus 6x cube y dy by dx equal to 0. Yeah? So as I said, check that this is an exact ordinary differential equation. So how do we solve this exact ordinary differential equation? We need to find a function u such that the partial of u with respect to x is, m prime, the coefficient of dx, and the partial of u with respect to y is n prime, the coefficient of dy, right? And as and when we are able to find such a u xy equal to c gives an implicit solution to this differential equation. And how do we find such a u? We integrate, right? So we start by integrating with respect to the x variable. We pick up a constant of integration, which we denote by k. Now, step 2, we would differentiate the equation in step 1 with respect to the y variable, which means that the partial of u with respect to y is 2x4 minus 6x cube y plus the derivative of k. We set it equal to the term n prime, right? That's what saying that this is exact demands, right? Now this implies that the derivative of k is 0, and we may choose k to be a constant, right? And hence setting u equal to constant, setting u, so this is 2x to power 4y minus 3x cube y square plus c, this equals to 0. Yeah, so you just adjust the constant. This is an implicit solution to the given ODE. Correct? Is that okay? Is that a yes with everybody present here?
Yes, ma'am.
In fact, x identically 0 and y identically 0 are also solutions of the given ODE, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Somebody wanted to say something? Okay, all right. Okay, so we saw an example on how to apply integrating factors to solve ordinary differential equations. All right, let's see one more example. Yeah, let's look at the following ODE. This is a first order linear differential equation, right? Okay, please check. This is not exact, right?
Ma'am, but it is separable.
Yes, it is separable. I agree, right?
We can directly solve.
Correct. One can do all of that. This is separable. This is homogeneous. All of that is true. I just want to illustrate, integrating factors, right? All of that, all your points are valid and taken. Okay, all right. So m by convention here is the coefficient of dx, right? So this is minus of y, and n in this example is x. So let's find an integrating factor. Yeah. How do we find an integrating factor? Let's look at this. So let's look at the derivative of n with respect to x minus the derivative of m with respect to y. Compute that and divide it by m. Yeah, that turns out to be a function of the variable y alone, which means that let's look at the following differential equation. Yeah. Okay, so yes.
If we would have divided it by if we would have found m of y minus n of x by n, even then that would have been a function of n.
Correct.
So that depends on us.
That depends on us, and that's the point that I would like to highlight, that the integrating factors are not unique.
Correct.
Yeah, so both are valid choices. You choose one, whichever you like. Right? So this is.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
So you just said integration factors are not unique. Means there are only two integration factors, or that leave the constant term n with them.
Say that again. There are
only two integration factors.
No, not necessarily. We don't know how many we have. All I said is it's not unique.
Then how to find the third one? Because we have just two ways: nx minus my divided by m.
You don't have to find third one. You have to actually find just one. You have to just find one integrating factor.
Okay.
Correct? Yeah, that's a separate question. How many integrating factors does this ODE have, right? But the question now that we are discussing is that how to solve this ODE, right? And as you know, there are several methods. You can use this is separable, you can use this as homogeneous, things like that, right? But correct, is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. Fine.
Yes. Okay. All right. So this means that one can choose the integrating factor to be 1 upon y square. Yeah. Okay. Which means that let me multiply this equation by 1 upon y square, which means that I will end up with the following differential equation: minus 1 by y plus x by y square dy by dx equal to 0. Yeah. So this turns out to be exact. Please check. Yeah, please check that when you apply by mu y equal to 1 by y square, what you get is indeed an exact differential equation. Okay. And this is quite simplistic. So in this case, I just one can sort of do this, that by inspection, you say that x by y equal to c, setting that is an implicit solution of this differential equation. But you can also sort of proceed in a systematic manner as we did in the last example, and you will end up at the same solution. So is this okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, any questions?
Ma'am, I have a doubt in the last question.
Yes, go ahead.
Ma'am, in that we said that x identically 0 is also the solution of the given ODE.
Yes.
But the integrating factor passes through the x-axis, actually, I mean, at origin.
Right.
So, should we not disregard this?
So let me think. So I'll just thinking aloud here. See, uxy equal to constant. This is a solution to the given ODE is obtained by the systematic approach. Yeah, saying that y identically 0 and x identically 0 are solutions. This has sort of nothing to do with integrating factors and things like that. This is simply by inspection.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, and if by inspection it was not the case, then we would have not written like this.
Right, we would not have written it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah?
Thank you.
And it may so happen that what you get by inspection may be a particular, you choose a appropriate constant and you get the solution. That is also a possibility.
Yes.
Yes, that's also a possibility. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
For some particular choice of the constancy. Yeah, is that correct? Does everybody agree with me on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Okay, all right. Okay. So shall we go ahead if there are no further questions?
Excuse me, ma'am, I have a doubt.
Tell me.
Ma'am, in this, the ODE which we obtained by multiplying integrating factor, ma'am, y exactly equal to 0 is not a solution of that.
Which one? The previous example or this one?
Ma'am, this page.
This page. You're saying y identically 0 is not a solution of which ODE?
The one we obtained by multiplying integrating factor.
Yes, it's not even defined. Yes. So.
And ma'am, it is a solution of the original ODE.
Okay. Yeah, all of that may happen. Yes.
Ma'am, so every time we'll have to check these things, like,
yes,
isn't there anything general?
No. So all I said is that if it so happened that the integrating factor is well defined and non-zero for all xy, then the ODE that you start out with and the exact ODE that you get after multiplying with the integrating factor have the same solutions. In general, you have to be careful. For example, in this case, as you rightly pointed out.
Also, like when we say that, x by y is equal to c, we are not talking about all solutions. So of the original ODE, yes, y equal to 0 is a solution, but this gives us one of the solutions.
Sure. That's correct.
Ma'am, but in that way we may miss some solution, no?
Correct, correct. This is not giving you all solution, one solution.
Yeah, but that is supposed to be a problem, no?
Yeah.
So we will see about that later.
See. So for the moment, what we are trying to do is we have an OD and we are trying to find a solution. That's all. We are not trying to find all solutions. We are not asserting this is the unique solution. We are not saying anything like that. Given an OD, find a solution.
We are just finding a solution.
A solution for now.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. No, of course you can sort of, just get away with saying, y identically 0 is a solution and I am done. Right. But, you're looking at some interesting solutions as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah, that's the whole point, right? Okay. All right. Okay. So what do we have next? Let's see. Yeah. So first order linear differential equation of the following form, dy by dx plus pxy equal to gx is said to be a linear differential equation in standard form. Yeah. Why do I suddenly care for these? Hopefully I'll be able to convince you in a couple of minutes. So this is called as a linear differential equation is standard form. Everybody will agree with me that this is linear, right? Now, in general, we will assume P and Q to be continuous on some interval on the real line, right? Nice things happen in that case. You can integrate and things like that. Okay. So is there an integrating factor for this differential equation? So if you can do a quick computation here,
Yes.
what is m here?
E raised to integration p of x.
Let's do to p, right? Yeah. So you do a quick computation here. N is 1, m is this pxy minus gx. And so, you get my minus nx by n to be a function of the x variable alone, and the exponential integrating p dx is indeed an integrating factor for this different differential equation. Yeah. So the integrating factor is very nice here, defined everywhere and non-zero everywhere. So there's absolutely no problem. Yeah. So if this is an integrating factor, so let's just multiply this ODE by this function, which means that when you multiply by e to power integral of p, that should give you an exact differential equation, right? And you can rewrite it in the following manner: d by dx of exponential integral p times y is equal to the right hand side, which is exponential integral p times g. Yeah. Okay. So, again and again, we are using the fact that p is continuous here, right? Okay. And one can solve this for y, and the solution can be written in the following form. Correct? Is that okay? Does everybody agree with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Okay. All right. Okay. So let's apply this discussion to the following initial value problem, right? So here we are slightly tinkering the notation. Y is the dependent variable and t is the independent variable. So I have a t dy by dt plus 2y equals 4t square, and the initial condition is that at t equal to 1, y is 2. All right, so we will put this differential equation in the standard form, which means that I'm going to write it as dy by dt plus 2y by t equals 4t. Right now, so p here is 1 by t, sorry, 2 by t. So our earlier discussion tells us that if I choose exponential integral 2 by t to be an integrating factor, that will simplify things quite a bit, right? So what is it? This is indeed t square, right? Okay. All right, let's see. So let's multiply this differential equation by t square. What do you get? We get t square dy by dt plus 2yt equal to 4t cube, right? Okay, can I simplify it any further? I'm going to write it in the following form. Yeah, I'm going to write it as d by dt of t square y equals 4t cube. Correct? Everybody with me up till this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Okay, all right. Okay, what is the advantage of writing it like this? I just integrate and I have a solution, right? So what is the solution? Y equal to t square plus some constant of integration c by t square. And using the initial condition, one can determine c, which means that y equal to t square plus 1 by t square is a solution to the initial value problem. Correct? Is everybody with me up till this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, what am I going to do? I am sort of scale up the difficulty level a little bit, and I am going to look at, earlier what I had it in the, I'll just go back to the previous slide. I had a function g of x alone on the right hand side. Yeah. Now I am going to look at differential forms of the following format. So I'm going to look at dy by dx plus pxy equals qx times y to the power n. Yeah. So these are referred to as the Bernoulli's differential equation in the literature. So if n is 0 and 1, everybody would agree with me then that the equation written above is linear, otherwise not, right? Correct? Is that okay?
Okay.
Yes. Now, how do we apply the knowledge of integrating factors to solve this differential equation is what is that we are going to discuss next. Okay. So let's look at the case where n is at least 2, and I'm going to divide the given Bernoulli's differential equation by y to power n. Yeah, so I have a dy by dx divided by y to power n plus p, a function of the variable x alone, divided by y to power n minus 1 equals qx on the right. All right. Now I'm going to introduce a new variable here. I'm going to write u as 1 upon y to power n minus 1. Now, how does this simplify things? Let us see. Okay. So if I write u in this manner, then the derivative of u with respect to the variable x would be 1 minus n by y to power n dy by dx. Correct? What am I going to do next? I am going to substitute dy by dx from this equation in the equation, that's the first equation that appears on this page. Correct? So what does that give me? It gives me the following differential equation. 1 upon n minus 1 du by dx plus p times u equals q. Is that okay?
Ma'am, here
Yes.
we have written it du by dx, that denominator, will it be 1 minus n or n minus 1 at the last part?
In the last part, let me just check. So dy by dx is, yeah, so there's a, it should be a negative of that, plus px. Yeah, you it seems like you're right. Yes, yes, you're right. Yeah. So I missed a negative sign here, right?
Yes, I think.
I'll just quickly check when I'm posting the slides. Yeah, but for now,
right.
I'll just quickly check. Doesn't harm, it doesn't make a difference. So yeah, so let me just go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, is that okay? All right. So what is the whole point of all of this? The whole point of introducing this variable u is that now I have a first order linear differential equation, right? Is that okay? You all agree when n is at least 2, then the Bernoulli's differential equation to begin with is not linear. But by introducing this change of variables, now I have a linear differential equation, correct? Is that okay? And how do we solve this linear differential equation?
Integrating factor.
Yes, this linear differential equation, you put it in standard form, just get rid of this constant 1 upon n minus 1, and we use the discussion that we just, our earlier discussion, right? And apply an integrating factor and solve this. Correct? Is that okay? Is everybody with me?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Let's see. So let's apply this knowledge. Yeah. So this is, in this example here, x is the dependent variable, the unknown function, and y is the independent variable, right? A slight change of convention. Okay, let's see. Let's sort of write it in the standard format first. So that would be dx by dy is minus of x by 6y, that's correct, equals x to power 4 by 3y square, correct? Now, this is a Bernoulli's differential equation for the unknown function x, and you need to solve x as a function of y, right? So by what we just discussed, I would introduce a new variable here, right? But before that, I will, yeah. So either you introduce a new variable or you sort of do it the way it is written on the slide. Yeah? So what is it that you do? You divide by x to power 4, and then what does it give you? It gives you 1 upon x to power 4 dx by dy minus 1 by 6y x cube equals 1 upon 3y square, correct? And now you introduce this variable u as 1 upon x cube, yeah? So the earlier discussion we had was the new variable was 1 upon y to power n minus 1, yeah? So making the relevant changes here, then compute what is the derivative of u with respect to the y variable, apply the chain variable, apply the chain rule. So this is the derivative of u with respect to x times the derivative of u with respect to, I'll take that back. So how do you compute the derivative of u with respect to the y variable? Apply the chain rule. That gives you that du by dy is the derivative of u with respect to x variable times the derivative of x with respect to the y variable, which means that this is minus of 3 by x to power 4 dx by dy, correct? So I'm going to substitute for dx by dy from this in the differential equation written upstairs, correct? Is that all right? Everybody with me up till this point?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's plug that in. Yes.
Should not we take care of that y equals to 0 case, or it will be taken care of itself?
So you're saying what happens if y is 0? Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
See, what is the trouble if y is 0?
I mean, we divided by y in the first.
Okay, yeah, so all this division is under the assumption that y is not equal to 0. Let's see what happens at y equal to 0. Yeah, so yeah, let's see what happens at y equal to 0. You are right. Yeah, ideally one should have been a bit careful. Okay. Okay, so where were we? We had introduced this new variable u and computed the derivative of u with respect to the y variable, and what remains is substitution in the given differential equation, which means that you will end up with this differential equation. Minus 1 by 3 du by dy minus u by 6y equals to 1 by 3y square. Okay. So this, you clear up the negative signs. So what you get is the following. Now this is a linear differential equation. Is that correct? And one can use an integrating factor written as exponential of integral of 1 by 2y. Yeah. So the term which is the coefficient of u here, which is nothing but square root of y. Is that correct? Is everybody with me up till this point?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, is it going too fast? Is this okay?
No, ma'am. Sir.
It's all right. Everybody with me? Any
Yes, ma'am.
questions?
It's
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's use this integrating factor. Multiply the given ODE by this integrating factor. What you get is
Hello?
the following. Yes, yes. Go ahead, go ahead. Something.
Ma'am, won't it be under root of mod y?
Under root of mod y. Why do you pick a modulus here?
From the integration.
There could be ln mod y while integrating, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, but I still want, nice functions. So if I have a mod and then I take a square root, won't I run into trouble?
But if we are taking a square root, then y should be positive, right? So I hope we are not going into complex numbers.
No, we are not going to complex numbers, at least not for now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Square root is anyway going to be positive, so it's not going to matter mod or not mod.
No, actually, I think it will hide the cases when y is less than 0. Because we'll have to take that y is greater than 0 from now on.
But then you won't be able to integrate 1 by y to ln y if you get negative there, right? So the ln of negative numbers.
No,
how
I'm
do you
saying
define them?
something else. I'm saying that from now onwards, we can't take the cases when y of x is less than 0. If we only
Correct,
consider
correct.
under root
I'd
of
agree.
y. So we'll have to be careful.
So what is the general consensus?
I'd say mod is not required.
We are forgetting, we are missing out many solutions. We missed out y is equal to 0 when we divided by y.
Yes.
And now we are missing out y less than 0.
But is y equal to 0 a solution of this differential equation to start off with?
No, it is not.
Ma'am, just to point
If you put
out,
x and y both 0, then it is, I think.
ma'am, just to point out here, the independent variable is y.
It's x. Yeah, y is independent, so
Y
y
is
equal to
equal to
0
0.
can't be the solution, right? X
Correct.
is the
Yeah,
solution.
is that okay? All right. So one thing is sorted. Now the next thing is what happens to the modulus sign? Yeah. So what is the consensus about the modulus sign?
I think, ma'am, it's not required because then how do you integrate 1 by y? Like when you integrate 1 by y, you're explicitly taking it that it's positive, right?
Integral of 1 by y is ln mod
yeah,
y.
ln mod y. Yes,
Yeah, you
exactly.
don't. So y doesn't have to be positive. It just doesn't have to
Can
be
be
0.
negative.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So then how do we sort of get around
Get
this
around with it.
We need to explicitly state that y is
not
greater than 0.
Because if y is negative, then how do we take square roots, right?
Yes, ma'am.
If y is negative, then it will just
No,
become
ma'am.
minus
No,
y.
ma'am. This could
It
be
would
equal
become
to root of mod y, right?
Yes, so we can. There can be two cases, right? Like root of y and root of minus y. Then we can solve for both and get the answers.
We can consider the interval of y
It
where
can
it
be
is
negative.
positive.
Y can be negative, but we'll have square root of mod y, I think.
We can find the solution for an interval of y where it is positive.
Correct. No, that part is no. So that is sort of trouble free. If y is positive, then everything goes fine. But what if y is negative? Then what you do?
Then it would be under root of minus y.
Yes, it can handle with the
And
root
then
of
it
minus
still be
y.
positive, yeah? A minus of y is still positive. Is that
But
what
our
you...
equation would change because it is under root of y, then it would be under root of minus y du by dy like that.
Correct. Yeah, that seems like a good point. So let's just see what does the solution lead us to. So maybe that will help clarify things. So maybe if the square of y appearing everywhere in the solution, let's see. I don't really know. Yeah. So let's sort of postpone this discussion to the end of this example, right? So assuming that this is y is positive here, right? So then I can write it in the following form, right? So I have this separable ODE, and then what you get is the following, which means that u square root of y is 2 by square root of y plus c. And remember, u was 1 upon x cube. So x cube is this, yeah? So x is the unknown function. and this is what we get. So this is not particularly illuminating, right? This doesn't say anything. So this will change if, as you were saying, right? This will give you a different solution, right?
We are
Yeah,
working on
we'll
this
have to take.
restricted domain now.
Say that again,
No,
please.
it
We'll have to
still
make two
says y
cases.
has to be positive.
We'll have to take two cases where y
Correct,
is
correct.
positive and y
See,
is
I
negative.
was wondering that if, you know, if the solution is such that we just have y square term everywhere appearing, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
Right, but that is not the case here, right? You know, even powers of y, for example, but that's not the case here. Yeah. So ideally one should have that this is defined only when y is positive, correct? Is that the case? So this is a solution on the positive real axis. Is that what we say? Will that be the correct way of putting things?
Yes, ma'am, I think.
Yes, I guess.
Yes. And there would be another solution on the negative axis. Is that?
Yeah, ma'am, just mirror
Yes.
image of what's.
Yes.
It
Okay.
would just be that the solution would just be that instead of y we substitute minus y.
Correct, correct, correct. So it would be x cube equal to minus of y plus divided by 2 plus some constant c, you know, c prime, square root of minus of y, and y is negative here, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes, yeah. Okay, so that seems to be the right thing to do. Yeah.
Like in one format, you will, if you are writing minus y in the second case, that will just be mod y anyway. So it will be
Correct.
mod y on top and mod y like everywhere basically. If you just carry this up.
So we'll get a mirror image about y-axis, sorry, x-axis, in the case when y is negative.
See, there's are two different things. If you put a mod y, then the solution is defined everywhere, right? But may not be differentiable. That's not we want, right? X has to be a differentiable function of y. So I think putting mod y is not a good idea. Do you all
Yes,
agree
ma'am.
with
We
me?
can.
Yeah.
We can state the
Yeah,
interval
correct.
instead.
Right. That's not a good. Yeah. That's you know, x by definition has to be a differentiable function of y, right? X has to satisfy a certain, you know, in this case first order ODE,
But
right?
ma'am, if we are not taking y equal to 0, then mod x is also differentiable everywhere except y equal to 0, and y equal to 0 is not in domain, so mod y should be good.
Say that again, please.
Ma'am, mod y is not differentiable at y
Correct.
equal to 0, and we are not taking y equal to 0 in the domain, so mod y should be
So that
sufficient.
is also fine, you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. So either way, you're right. But there should be sort of, one has to be careful here. And I was rather sloppy. I agree. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. All right. So anything else or we move on to the next thing? Any other questions, comments, suggestions?
I think the solution will of the minus part would be a mirror image about x is equal to minus y, no? Or y is equal to minus x instead of y is equal to x.
It will be mirrored about the origin.
Yeah, that's what I think, but I think this can be explicitly sort of solved. So, you know, sort of one can do it.
Ma'am, if you carry the mod sign forward, then you get a mod in the numerator in the final answer.
Yes.
So,
No, then the problem of
all values
differentiability
of
came. That's the problem.
all values of y will be positive.
So
But
here, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we are considering differentiability over an interval, right? So if we don't take 0 in that interval,
yes,
that means we don't have y positive and negative simultaneously in any one interval. So if we are not taking such intervals, we can take any sign for y and that should work.
right. But, you know, sort of you say that, you know, this solution is valid on this interval and this solution is valid on this interval.
Right.
Correct? Yeah. So that clarification has to come. Yeah. But you know, sort of thank you very much for sort of raising this point, and one has to be careful here is what I would say. Yeah? So I'll sort of make appropriate changes before uploading these slides on Moodle. Yeah. Okay, good. Anything else, or we move on to the next thing? All right. So let's.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Ma'am, I'm speaking this a bit early, ma'am. But ma'am, if things like these come in exam, ma'am, please do inform us, because sometimes these things waste a lot of time in the exam.
See, don't worry. We try to be as careful as possible, but we are all humans, and we are sort of one can make mistakes, but sort of intentionally we don't do it, right? So, for example, intentionally I have not put this up on this slide, but
Like we'll get, like suppose this question is of 2 marks, so I'll get 2 marks for this if I grip, but for the time which I wasted in this would make me a loss of 4 marks from any other questions. That thing
I cannot sort of commit on what is going to happen in future, but we will try to be as sort of reasonable as possible. Yeah, that is what I can assure you. Both on my part and my co-instructor, Professor Anand Vardhan, we will both try to be as reasonable as possible. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, we are all in this together, is what I can assure you. Yeah, don't worry.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So the next issue that we would like to discuss is existence and uniqueness of solutions, which sort of many of you have been raising time and again. When do we say that a given initial value problem has a unique solution? When do we say that the solution exists, if at all, how many, and things like that. So far, the initial value problems that we have considered, they have had unique solutions, but this may not be always the case. Yeah, let's see an example. Let's consider the following initial value problem. Dy by dx is y to the power 1 by 3, and at x equal to 0, y is 0. Right. So how do we solve this initial value problem? Any suggestions?
Variable separate.
Many ways. Yeah, you can use many ways. Yeah, so one way is that you use the fact that this is a separable first order differential equation. So let's separate the variables, right? Which means that you have all the y's appearing on the one side and all the x appearing on the other side. And let's integrate. What you get is 3 by 2 to the y to the power 2 by 3 is x plus some constant of integration, right? Now, which means that y is equal to 2 by 3 x plus c, and all of it to the power 3 by 2, right? And if you use the initial condition that gives that this constant is 0, so what you get is the following, right? So if x is positive, yeah, then what you get is y is 2x by 3 to the power 3 by 2. Correct? Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. But so this is a solution of the given initial value problem, right? Everybody agrees with me?
Ma'am, I have a question here that when we transfer to y power 1 by 3 to LHS.
Can you please say that again? I sort of missed what you said. If you
when we transferred y raised to power 1 by 3 to LHS,
you transfer y to the power 1 by 3 to LHS. Okay.
Then y should not be equal to 0 for y.
Sorry, I can't understand what you're saying. If you transfer y to the power 1 by 3 to the LHS.
He's saying in the first step, when we separate the variables,
yes,
are we considering y not equal to 0?
Okay, so you're saying how do we do this, right? Meaning saying that at x equal to 0, y indeed takes this value 0, right? So this separating the variables is ideally not defined when y equal to 0, right? And now how are we plugging this in? Okay, how do we address that here?
And we can separately say that y is equal to 0 is the solution of this differential equation.
Correct.
And we are solving for other solutions by considering y not equal to 0. Okay.
But isn't we are given y of 0 as 0, so I
Right, we are
mean
given this
that
initial condition, right? We can't get away from
we
that.
I think we have to
Ma'am,
change
we can
it.
do one thing.
Yeah.
We can consider the interval starting from y, but starting from 0, but not including 0.
Open
and
interval.
then we can open interval, and then we can say that since y has to be differentiable everywhere,
You take limits.
it has to be continuous. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so yeah, all of this is valid concern. Yeah, you know, these are valid concerns. Let's see, what is that I wanted to say here? Yeah, let me just check that first, right? And I will try to answer your queries. So as one of you rightly pointed out, we are given the initial condition that y takes the value 0. So doesn't make sense to divide by y. Yeah, so the way to justify is that you say that this separating the variables is taken on an interval where y does not assume the value 0, right? And let's see how do we sort of get to this initial value problem. Okay. Now, so if I sort of not do this, yeah, so if I forget what is on the first slide, yeah, if I just look at this initial value problem and then I say, hey, look here, you know, let me define a function y as 2x by 3 to the power 3 by 2 on the positive real axis. And I say that, look here, this is a solution to the initial value problem. And then, you know, I say that let's look at the negative of this. That's also a solution of this initial value problem. But how do I get to that is the question, right? Right. In fact, one has many more, right? You can play this game again and again. You can play around with this constant and you can actually get many, many solutions of this initial value problem, right? But the question that you're posing still remains, right? How do you sort of get your hand on the very first one?
Ma'am, we can try a trick here. Like
yes, tell me.
We only solve for particular intervals, like excluding x equal to 0 here.
Okay.
And when we get the final answer, and if somebody asks us like, how do we argue for x equal to 0, we say that, okay, we put this function in the differential equation, it satisfies for even x equal to 0.
So let me think about it a little bit more, right? How do we sort of justify things like this? Yeah, I will. Yeah. So for now, you know, my suggestion would be, let's just forget what is appearing on this slide and let's just move on to this. Yeah, right. I will sort of go back to it and try to sort of. You know, put together my thoughts and get back to you on this, right?
And y is equal to identically 0 is a solution of the differential equation.
Correct.
So ma'am, like we can say that while solving we are considering that y is not equal to 0.
See, we can say that y is not identically 0, but y still takes the value 0 because the initial value problem demands that, right? That at x equal to 0, y is 0.
Yeah, ma'am, but we have no problem, like y is equal to 0 is a solution of our differential equation.
Yes.
So ma'am, we can say that it's valid, like y can take 0 value.
He's kind of saying that you consider the one case where y, if y is equal to 0, then this solution. If y is not equal to 0, then the other solution.
So you want to say if y is identically 0, then this solution, and if y is not identically 0, is this solution? Or you want to just say that if y is equal to 0, then this, y equal to 0 at this solution doesn't make sense, no?
Ma'am,
Y is a function of x.
We can do a thing like what we used to do in sin x by x. I mean,
Take limits, yeah, that is one way. You know,
yes.
You take limits, yeah. That seems like, you know, you use the fact that y is differentiable and take limits. You work on an interval, you know, which avoids 0 and then take limits. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. That seems like to me the most sort of scientific way of approaching these things. But I will sort of get back to you because on this, right? I'll just sort of get back to you on this. Let me sort of spend some time on this.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
like basically we are doing what we did in the last part, right? Like when we say a greater than 0, we are basically letting a, like tending a to 0 from the, so that is the technique we are like.
Yeah. So over here, you know, we are in the last part, we are just sort of cooking up a differentiable function using our prior knowledge.
Yes.
Yes. That's all we are doing here. Yeah. You have a solution on the interval 0 to a. You have a solution on, you know, on the right hand side of a, and you're sort of patching them together to get a differentiable function. That's the most important thing. Right. So the whole point of this example was to sort of demonstrate to you that there are initial value problems having infinitely many solutions, right? Because a is a parameter here, right? For any a, you have a solution to this differential equation, right? So this is initial value problem admitting infinitely many solutions. Right? So I still owe you an explanation as to how do we sort of separate the variables, but I guess the suggestion as here is that you try to separate the variables on an interval, let me call it x naught infinity, where x naught is different from 0, and then in the limits you take x naught to tend to 0, and all of that is well defined because you demand the solution to be differentiable everywhere. Is that okay? Does that seem like a right thing to do? Does that seem like a right thing to do?
Yes.
Is that a yes with everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Okay. Yeah. Thank you again for sort of raising this point. Okay. All right. Let's see.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, go ahead.
Ma'am, there were so many questions in between that I get lost. What exactly the point you were stressing on? Can you just summarize it in a sentence or something?
So the question here is the following. So the question here is the following, right? That we are looking at this initial value problem dy by dx equal to y 1 by 3, and the initial condition is y at x equal to 0 is 0, right? So it is given to us that y takes the value 0, right? And the very next line on this slide is the following, that I am dividing by y here, you know, when I write y to the power minus 1 by 3. So I'm dividing by y here, right? You know, y to the power 1 by 3 here, right?
Yes,
so how do you sort of justify division by y when y is taking the value 0 is the question. Is that okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, did you understand that? Y
Yeah, I
takes the
understand the
value
question.
0. So how do you justify division by y to the power 1 by 3? And the suggestion is that you do this separation of variable on the interval x naught infinity, where x naught is strictly positive. And you do all of this analysis, and then you say that the solution that you get ought to be differentiable as a function of x. So you allow x naught to tend to 0. Is that okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah,
Fine.
I will sort of make an appropriate change in the slide when I put it up on Moodle. Yeah. You know, I'm sorry, you know, if this is sort of, this illustration is sort of confusing it a lot more than clarifying things. Yeah, I apologize for that. So is this okay? Is every student with me up till this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes?
ma'am.
Yes? Okay, all right. So here is an example of an initial value problem with infinitely many solutions, right? Let's consider one more. You have the following initial value problem. Dy by dx is 3x square plus 4x plus 2 by 2y minus 2. Yeah. and we want at x equal to 0, y to be 1, right? Okay. So how do we solve this initial value problem? Are there any suggestions?
Separation of variables.
Again, again you use that this is a separable first order differential equation, right? Okay, so let's separate the variables, which means that all the y's appearing on one side and all the x and functions of x on the other side. So, and we integrate. And what do we get? We get that y square minus 2y is x cube plus 2x square plus 2x plus c, right? Which means that I can write down y in terms of x in the following manner, and I can use the initial condition to solve for c, so that I end up here, yeah, y minus 1 whole square is x cube plus 2x square plus 2x, okay? So which means that I have at least two solutions to the given initial value problem, correct? Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Okay. So again, this initial value problem does not admit a unique solution. There are at least two solutions available as our calculation shows. Okay. So what is that one can say in general is the following statement. Yeah. So I have a first order initial value problem, dy by dt is a function of t and y. At t equal to t naught, y is y naught. Yeah. So what is that I can say about the existence and the uniqueness of solutions of this initial value problem? Okay. So I would like to introduce a simplification. I say that let me make a translational coordinate, and I can assume that t naught is 0 and y naught is also 0, right? So I'm going to look at the initial value problem, dy by dx equal to fty, okay? Right? And I say that the following statement is true. Suppose the function f is such that both f and the partial derivative of f with respect to the y variable, these are both continuous on a closed and bounded rectangle, then there is an interval, this is a subinterval of the interval minus a to a, such that this initial value problem admits a unique solution to this initial value problem on this interval, right? So the assumption here is that both the function f and the partial derivative of f with respect to the y variable are continuous on a closed and bounded in a rectangle, right? Then we can assert existence and uniqueness of the solution to this initial value problem on a certain subinterval of the interval minus a to a, right? So I think I'll just stop right here for now. I'll stop the recording and then